Well, good afternoon, fellas.
Good
I hope you
afternoon.
can
Where
see
you
me.
all calling in from?
I'm in Boca Raton, Florida.
Boca Raton. You got it. The
Yeah,
mouth of the
where you
rat.
guys at?
New York City, Manhattan.
Oh,
We're in my
one of
office. We're in my office.
At the American Museum of
Right.
Natural History.
Right.
Ooh.
And he just came to visit, so I slapped him into the same frame. We're in the same frame here.
We're not actually. This is bad. Very good green screen. I can even touch
you all worked together before too, on one of your documentaries about food.
Yes,
Right?
right.
Food evolution.
That's where we met.
Yeah, so y'all know each other very well. Well, I'm Al McGee with YETicket.com, and I watched the documentary Shot in the Arm. I was very surprised at this documentary, even though I saw this going on in my life. So what makes this documentary? Well, you wanted to present this and get the public to understand what's going on with this subject about anti-vaxxers.
Yeah, no, we it all started in 2019 when they were anti-vaxxers, science deniers, and very clever communicators that were scaring parents into not vaccinating their kids, and that led to pockets of measles outbreaks in the United States and across Europe. And I wanted to know why that was going on, so that started the film as a measles film, and I shot with the public health side, like Dr. Paul Offit, Dr. Fauci, and Dr. Hotez. But I also wanted to show who were those people that were scaring parents, and I shot with the top anti-vaxxers as well. The top anti-vaxxers as well, including Dale Bigtree, the OG. I can do it. Andrew Wakefield, whose fraudulent study started this fear around vaccines and autism, false fear. And now the top of the pyramid is Robert Kennedy Jr., long before he started his run as a presidential candidate. And we thought we had a very strong and important film in measles and anti-science and anti-vax sentiment. And then COVID happened, and it went to this whole other place of that anti-science getting more politicized and more dangerous. And the film really became a story about the social contract. And are we going to be able to live by a social contract and get beyond these tribal fights and say, past the end of our nose and say, the decisions I make affect other people. So how am I going to make decisions that go beyond just serving myself?
And by the way, that would have been a perfectly fine movie. If it was just about the measles,
sure,
because that included the whole story about Samoa.
Yep.
Right. That was all measles contained, right?
Wakefield, yeah,
and so there's a lot going on there. But once COVID happens, it landed in your lap. Who ordered that, right?
Yeah.
Right. So you have to switch gears. Not switch gears, but go into higher gear.
Yeah.
Because there's a higher calling necessary to deliver the messages that needed to be told in a storytelling arc.
Yeah.
And so that's really how that unfolded. And he calls me up with a 2-hour edit of this and says, "Neil, what do you think of this?" And I looked at it and I made a bunch of comments. And then I became script consultant after he saw my comments. And after some more engagement with the helping the visibility of the film and other sort of strategic positionings of it, I became executive producer on the film. And so
I actually released a poster,
right,
saying executive producer Neil deGrasse Tyson, and then I asked him to do it. I'm just kidding. I didn't.
Well, Neil, with your background as an astrophysicist and also with your science background, how can you influence the content of this documentary?
No. So that's a very important point. Yes, I'm an astrophysicist with no medical expertise. The medical expertise is in the film. All right, the interviewing medical doctors, nurses, other medical professionals, and so my expertise as a scientist was not so important to this film as was my expertise as an educator, because as an educator, I have some sensitivity and awareness to how information moves from where it starts to where it lands in the hearts and minds of the receiver of that information. So I was able to advise and say, well, this could be told a little differently, and that'll reach the audience either more emotionally or more intellectually. So we had an active conversation about that.
Right.
couple of places there was a scientific statement made, and I said, I don't want people to just have to believe this. Put in a chart that reflects the data that they're saying, and then that elevates the statement into a scientific result, rather than just talking heads trading comments back and forth. So my advice and guidance was along those lines.
Yeah.
Not, hey, Fauci, or they don't know. No, I have no such expertise to do so. Plus, I'm in the film for a couple of minutes,
Right.
Yes.
not a minute, seconds.
Get your vaccine.
When I got my vaccine, I give my thumb up. I got that at Harlem Hospital, because the film, while it doesn't explicitly lay it out this way, implicitly, you see that the OG anti-vaxxers were liberals, because the measles epidemics occurred in New York and California, not in Utah, not in Oklahoma, not in Montana. All right. So it's the blue enclaves. Then when COVID came in, there was a whole right-wing resistance to the vaccine, not because they were anti-pharma, the way many liberals would declare they are, because they didn't want to be forced to have a vaccine. Freedom, there's America. So my reply would be, okay, go live as a survivalist, remove yourself from society and civilization, because the fact that you live here and there's institutions that collect your garbage, that teach your children, that put out your fires, that
make sure your food is safe.
Your food is safe. All of that, you are a participant in a social contract where if you are ill, you need to be responsible enough to not make other people ill. But what I'm getting at here is the liberal left and the conservative right met on the same side of the fence. And you know who else was there? The Black community, but for a completely different reason.
Yeah.
Because
For
we all
Tuskegee.
remember the Tuskegee experiments, okay? And it's like, I am not going to trust. So what I told Scott, he didn't do this because it was too comedic. I said, if you're a skeptical Black person because of the Tuskegee experiment, if you see white people in line to get the vaccine, just jump in the middle between two of them and you're good to go. Then you know it's not a separate serum for your line over on the other side. So I got my vaccine up in Harlem Hospital as a part of the force to show the Black community that, yeah, this vaccine matters.
Mistakes can happen. And
exactly.
Still can't have trust.
But also in your documentary, Shot in the Arm, many of these anti-vaxxers, well, they did not get their information from the medical community. They were getting it from people who had talk shows, podcasts, and people pretending to be in the medical community. How come they listen to them instead of the medical community?
I tell you, hang on, no,
such a good question.
I know it's okay. I got this. Okay, I got this. Okay, so the people who have their podcasts, they have charisma, and they have the David and Goliath trope working in their favor. Big pharma, big business, big government. I am your advocate against these big faceless entities.
They've all been lying to you.
Yeah, they've all been lying to you. And we are the David, we're going to tackle Goliath. Okay. Meanwhile, what are we doing? We are giving results that come from peer-reviewed science papers from faceless scientists that get verified by other faceless scientists in labs you've never heard of.
And it takes years.
And it takes years to get those results. And then they're reported. And so you have charismatic people selling lies and the rest of us just offering the truth without the charisma behind. And so in my view, that's the difference here. So we need to train people in the school system that science is not spoken by individuals who are telling you that the mainstream is wrong. That's not how science works. Science works to create the mainstream. That's the whole point.
To keep the mainstream alive.
And what is the mainstream? It doesn't mean we all agree.
That's it.
It means when we do agree, we have obtained objective truth. But until then, no, we're going to disagree. Anyone who's ever been to a science conference will not come out saying, "Oh, these scientists just like to agree with each other."
They just yes each other to death.
Yeah,
That's
that is not how that works. Right. So I think if people knew differently the methods and tools of science, I think we would be in a very different world today.
I agree with all that. The possibly harder part of that very difficult conundrum is that it also takes humility. It takes humility and decency to pause for a second and go, just because I'm feeling something doesn't make it true.
Right.
Just because somebody clever that I want to believe in, I want to look cool on the internet that I believe in them doesn't make it true. And that's not easy to ask somebody to change, the way that they see themselves as their level of humility or not.
Right.
What are you pulling up?
No,
you're exactly right about that. Another question. In your documentary, Shot in the Arm, you mentioned that Amazon was the biggest seller of not telling the truth or selling all these books about anti-vaccine and things like that. Have you got in touch with Amazon to talk to them about this, or they just want to keep making money selling all this misinformation?
We live in a free country.
Yeah, they can sell what they want.
And I'm not going to start banning books. We live in a free country. All it simply means is it makes my job harder as an educator to empower people to distinguish that which is true from that which is not, and that which is not true from that which is. And once you're empowered, those books all go away on their own. To ban them is to create extra attention to them, making other people, well, why are they banning? What do they not want me to know? And then the peddlers of those books say, this was banned in 10 states, but I can sell it to you here on this side. All of a sudden, we're drawn to it.
We can ask them to not make algorithms that promote disinformation more and promote outrage and all of these other
that
things.
Makes my job harder, but I want to rise to that occasion.
I'm with you. I don't want to ban books. I would like to have tools that, like you keep saying, we're just offering the truth, and God forbid we have a way to do that in a humble way. So hi.
Yeah. Well, just one more question. How do you see this documentary actually contributing to the public thought on when they watch this film? What do you think they're going to think after they see this film?
Thank you. Yes, we've been honored to see.
That's an important question, because otherwise, you're just making a film in a vacuum.
That's right.
Right.
I'm making it for the Scott Kennedy Film Festival. It's a great film festival. I always get a seat. So no, we want to make a film as Neil does as an author and as a communicator. We want to reach the largest audience we can. We want to communicate with the largest audience we can. So my hope for the film is it does, and we've seen it. We've been very honored with the response so far, that it's very emotional. It's very cathartic. We all lived through this thing called COVID. So we all have a shared experience with that. And we've talked about the social contract, that it's the social contract subtext is the piece that I want to see people walk away with, because there's very few people that talk about the social contract, but there's also very few people that disagree with it. They don't wake up in the morning and go, I'm going to go try and break the social contract. I'm going to be rude.
Right. It's not an active thought. It can happen passively.
That's right. It's the quote at the top that, like, if you pluck a chicken, one feather at a time, nobody will notice. And that's happening. If the chicken is our social contract, there are feathers that have been plucked.
Why are you quoting Mussolini at the beginning of the movie?
That's a great quote. It's because it's dark, that he tells the truth. And that's a perfect metaphor, that he tells this awful truth.
I'm just saying.
And it's Mussolini.
Okay, fine.
That's I think it's called irony.
Okay. Mr. Filmmaker.
Well, I want to thank you guys for taking time with me, Al McGee here at whyyouticket.com. And also, I'm a former educator. I used to be a college professor myself.
And there it is. It shows, by the way, in the depth of your questions. So
things like that. But I want to thank you. And I'm very impressed with Shot in the Arm. I really am, because you compact it all together to show people this is what's happening now, even though it happened just a few days ago. That's why I enjoyed this documentary. But thanks for taking time with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. We hope to see you down the road.
Thank you.